Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for coming today. I'll tell a little bit about myself here. Let me get this. There we go. So I am not just a business owner. So I'm Kristin Bushnell. I have a big family and I have a brokerage as well in both Arizona and in Washington State. It's my husband and some of our kids on a trip. A couple of more of my kids. We're just a big family of people here. I'm from Georgia. I went to school in Arizona. I went to Scottsdale Culinary Institute, the University of Arizona, and then we moved, because of my husband's job, we moved across up north to the Pacific Northwest, where we did a lot of different businesses. We sold it, but we used to have a brewery and a restaurant, screen print shop. We had a lot of fun with all of that. But the reason I kind of tell you about some of the different parts of my background is because even though I have, 25 years of real estate industry experience, I also have a lot of business experience. And so when you're working in real estate, they don't tell you when you get your, real estate license that, hey, I need to know how to run a business too, and so I'm uniquely qualified to answer so many of your questions. I've got multifamily background. I used to be a regional manager for 2,000 units. We still do fix and flips, but we've built out whole subdivisions, HOA management, relocation. I've worked in commercial, I've worked in land. I'm current member and a former member of multiple boards. And it's just all of this knowledge. I'm kind of a real estate nerd that just wants to present and be able to share my experience as a resource to you. I opened my own brokerage back in Washington originally, although I was originally licensed a long time ago in Arizona. And then just a couple of years ago, I opened up a second branch in Arizona as I'm spending half of my time in Arizona and half of my time in Washington. So it's just interesting to watch the two different markets and being able to share that with people as well. And again, the family businesses that we run, I grew up running my dad's doctor's office, learning how to do insurance. We've done 501c3 nonprofits, sporting goods stores. We had a liquor store, restaurant, a brewery, print shop. And again, it sounds random, but at the same time, business is business. And if you apply the basic business principles, you're gonna be able to do better in your work. So I tell you this because I love helping agents in their work. And I can almost any real estate issue or question, I've been there, I've done that, and I can help you with that. And I really do wake up each morning thinking about how to help the agents in our industry. So let me just ask you a question. When you've had a client, maybe you've been doing this for a while and maybe you help them, buy a home, and, you've got them, you talk to them here and there, maybe they're even a good friend of yours. And then one day you go look them up and you find that, hey, they may be ready to kind of sell their home. It's a good time in the market. They've got a lot of appreciation in their home. And so you give them a call and guess what? They've already listed their home with someone else. That's like the worst thing that can happen to any real estate agent. And it's painful because sometimes these people are your friends and sometimes they're your family. But what happens? They still go with someone else. And I want you to think about this and the reason why, even though it doesn't matter how close you are to people choose the easy way. They choose a way that's opportunistic. So how many times have you been working with a buyer agent and a client, and you're the buyer agent? They go into an open house and they end up buying with the open house agent. And it's just baffling, right? Because they just worked with that agent without talking to you about it. So it's so important that you're communicating the right things to your clients. It's important that the sequence of the your client connections are so important in what you're trying to say, and making sure you're educating your client along the way so that they don't ever for one moment ever forget that you are their agent and you're there to support them. So in an old school scenario, let's pretend for a second that technology doesn't completely exist. And you would, take some information down, you would have a client intake form, and you would get some basic information about your client, right? And when you're doing this, if this is the first time you're ever doing a database, I really suggest you just take everybody that you know. You can go on your social media and pull those names. You can think about all your friends and family, but put everything into a simple Google sheet or a simple Excel sheet, okay? That's where I want you to start. And I can provide these for you, but this information is very simple. First, last name, their address, phone number, birthdays, any additional notes. The reason why it's important to put additional notes is because if you're new to this industry, it may not feel like it now, but after you meet 100 people, after you meet 1,000 people, you may not remember those small details. So reminding yourself that you have a friend and their dog's name is John, or that they just had a wonderful birthday party, and ask how that went the next time you connected with them. It really personalizes the conversation. So one of the key things that you can do in any of your things is take good notes. But when you have your database, what do you do with that, right? And again, I just asked the question, have you ever been in that situation where you find out that someone has bought or sold from someone else? And what happens is in our industry, it's a human experience. When we're working with people and we're actively showing them homes or actively selling their house, we don't necessarily think about all the other candidates or the other customers, the other consumers in your database. So to keep it simple, you have a current group of people, you have a potential people that may or may not be purchasing soon. You're going to try to get them off that ledge, and you have your past clients that have closed on homes. And as humans, we're usually good at one bucket, maybe two buckets, but we're usually not very good at three. And think about your own clients and think about, what you're good at. I know that I am not necessarily good at my past customers, and my past people in my database. So I knew that I had to create something to make sure that I was able to connect with people. So we have a very simple system. I like simple. I don't like anything complicated. Okay. If it's too complicated, I won't commit to it. And neither will other agents. I've learned that over the years of all my years of training and coaching other agents. If you have, what I use is a 36-point system. And if you're consistently applying that to each person, you'll see how it can work. So every person in your database is assigned every year 36 points. And there's different activities that you can do that you'll need to do on a consistent basis. That's the key. If you can spend 15 minutes a day on your business, this will keep you in touch with people. When you're communicating with someone, what's important is the message. It's not about what you want to say to them, it's what they want to hear, right? So let's just say you have sold a home 5 years ago to someone that's maybe, let's just say, a 1,600 square foot single family home that is a single level, and it's in a desirable neighborhood. But, in your talkings to them, you found out that their family has expanded and they may need something a little bit bigger, maybe like a little over 2,000 square feet. And so what you've done is maybe you've done a little bit of research into that neighborhood, and you looked at what buyers were buying compared to other homes in the neighborhood. And you're sending out something to that person individually. Like, guess what? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when we bought your house 5 years ago, we had no idea that your house would appreciate this much. It's worth this much now. And guess what? All my stats that I've shown, not just show that your house is worth more, but people are buying your single story home 20% higher in price than people that are in a 2-story in the same neighborhood. So you're taking some information that may be very general about maybe what's sold recently, but then you need to apply, what does it mean to me? People don't care what it means to you. They want to know what it means to them personally, right? So think about this when you're doing your marketing. Are you doing a general market? Are you doing niche marketing? So when you're doing these different communication syncs, Are you doing like a general farm, which is fine, but if you're really, really trying to hit different people, then what I've done, and maybe I'm doing a general newsletter. If I'm mailing it out, which is one old school way of doing it, you can do a little post-it note and literally write something on it. If it's a social media post, you can send it directly to them and give them a direct message about how that applies to them. If it's something that you're doing as an email, write in a quick, like 2-minute paragraph that explains how it applies to them, maybe a text message to follow up, but it needs to really hit them. Or if you're doing a niche market, don't forget, guys, there's, definitely the riches in the niches. So if you maybe are working on condo homes in the downtown Scottsdale area, maybe the high rises near the Fashion Square, or if you are working in ranch style homes, or you're working in equestrian properties, if you have a niche, you might be talking to them specifically about something new or exciting, or maybe something maybe HOA specific if you're marketing just a certain neighborhood. Maybe you're sharing HOA minutes or something that really could impact them. So the things that people ask about, they ask about sales in the area, they ask about market stats, they ask about market trends, and they want your opinion on it, just not the data. Not everybody can process data. So you need to translate that for them about what that means for them. And getting back to my 36-point system, here's some general things that you can do. So if you just sent an email out to them and just, said hi, that's 1 point. 2 points, anything that you've emailed or mailed and it's branded to you. I've talked about this so many times. It's so important to brand yourself. 3 points, a branded email with your expert opinion. So let's just say you did, 1 email every month. That would get you to 36 points per person, right? So it's not about making it complicated. It's about making it consistent, right? So in this, I'll give you an example. I have one agent up in Washington, and every month, she's very social. She is in a big social circle she's a den mother for like Boy Scouts. She's a baseball mom. She's very active with her kids. And so people know her in more of a social light. They don't all know that she's in real estate. But every single month, she sends out a personalized email that talks about the goings on of their family. And she also adds things about the real estate information in it. And then she puts it at the very bottom, an e-signature that's branded to her with, hey, remember, referrals are such a compliment to me, kind of thing, right? And people, because she sent this out, this monthly personal newsletter once a month, people are just looking forward to it every month. She has created something that they didn't even realize that they wanted from her, right? So if you completely provide something consistently with people, they're going to say, hey, Jean, or hey, that's her name, Jean, when's your next newsletter coming in? We want to hear about how your son's doing, or the new puppy in the family, right? So that's 3 points, because she's done something, an email out. She gives some expert advice about what's happening in the neighborhood and the stats there, and then she brands it to herself. If you just do that for 12 months in a year, sharing yourself in real estate, you get 36 points. Another thing that real estate agents are wonderful at, so many people in our industry are so great at one-on-one experiences with people. And what better way than to throw an event, right? So whether it's an Easter egg hunt, it's a holiday swim party, it's a pictures with Santa and at Christmas time, is so as people remember you and they want to see your face. They want to see be part of that experience. I told you before that we owned a restaurant and a brewery, and we started doing something. We've sold it now, but every year we did a pig roast. And the first year we had a few people, still like a few hundred people, but by the time we were done, we couldn't process it. There was thousands of people that came in during that time. It was crazy. So we'd have a 12-hour day of people coming in all day for this huge event, and it just became kind of the talk of the town. We've also, on a personal level, done that with poker parties. So You can create an event people look forward to. It's 6 points for the event. It's 3 points if you have a branded invitation to the event, and 2 points for a thank you. I mean, and you can get, almost half like of your points for the year just by doing an event. And it's just such a great way to get in front of people. You can do, it, the one thing that's very, very important, it needs to have your voice, right? So sometimes things are pre-written for us. Sometimes our brokerages help us out. Sometimes different people help us provide different things, but it needs to talk like you would talk. It needs to have your voice. It has to have your tone. So whatever you do, if you have an assistant, you have someone helping you, make sure it's speaking in how you would speak to people and in the forum that you would have to speak with people as well. I have one agent that's just amazing on Facebook. Like he gets 90% of his clients through Facebook. And it's just amazing. He's got a great following, and then he starts to become friends with those friends. And people, even they've not done business, he keeps getting these random messages from people like, oh, you help my friends just get in a house, can you help me too? And it's because he's constantly putting things out. It has to be true to you though. Like if I would tell one person to do that versus another, it just may not work. It's based on your personality, which, I mean, I talked about that in other classes before, but it's so important in this industry to understand your personality and use that, because people can tell if you're not authentic to who you are. So you need to make the voice true. You need to make sure you have a medium of getting out, and whether it's social media, whether it's a snail mail, a personal letter, a personal visit, whatever it is, it needs to be custom to you. So top 10 client follow-up tools. And at our brokerage, we have examples of all of these templates. I bet ROC Title has some of these too. But an article, right? If you're writing an article and you're putting things in, that's 3 points. Quarterly reports. So maybe you don't have time to do an article every month, but you want to give a quarterly update. That's a great way of doing it as well. People love your opinion. So real estate forecastings are wonderful. Annual client reviews. This one is 6 points. The template that I have for this is it's pretty robust. It's also a wonderful way of getting in touch with people that you haven't spoken to in like 5 or 10 years. I've had people come to me embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, Kristin, I haven't talked to this person in 7 years since we closed. I've sent him things here and there, but not like a real conversation. The annual client review or an anniversary review, 5, 7 years, whatever, it's okay, do it. Forget that you haven't done it, start now. Get back to those people. And the annual client review includes the goings on of the neighborhood. It talks about the appreciation they've received since they purchased the home. I call that pajama money, because you've made money in your pajamas because your house is appreciated, right? Another great thing is a real estate. Did you know? Did you know that a new development is coming a couple of blocks over from your home? And did you know that there's a new bus route coming through? Whatever it is, whatever could be affecting them, share that with them. Real estate year in review. Again, people like to hear what has happened in the year, and they like to hear your projections for the year. Real estate investing success stories, but it could be case studies. It doesn't have to just be investing. It could be, it could be that, but it could be maybe you helped a new homeowner for the first time. Maybe you helped a new home seller for the first time. Maybe you had a very challenging lending scenario that you were successful in. Make sure you share that with people. Market watch, custom newsletters, calendars. And again, the goal is to get to 36 points per person in your database. And again, these are, I would say, very passive ways of speaking to people. And so one other thing that you definitely should include as part of your overall client connection is look at your people A to Z and divide them into, make sure you're calling or doing some personal connection to them 2 times a year. So again, this is your passive. This is a way to do a mass generation of things, doing some personalization. Like if you did the annual client reviews, I have some agents that do that every year, and it maybe takes them a half an hour per per closing, to work every single one. And it gets easier as you are just doing updates on them every year. Usually the hardest one is the first one to do. But these are just wonderful ways to communicate with people, but don't make it complicated. If you only want to do an email like the agent that sends out something every month, do that. Again, that's 3 points. If you're communicating with them, you give real estate and you make sure it's branded. But I encourage you to kind of incorporate some different things, to get to 36 points. So it's not just the, just one newsletter every month. Doing something a little bit more personal for them, it goes a long way. The events are huge. So client tracking, and again, this is pretending you don't have a CRM. So some brokerages provide their CRMs, some people have their own. What I like to tell people is to keep your own personal database somewhere, where other people don't own that information. Because I've heard horror stories about people leaving brokerages or leaving teams, and that information does not belong to them alone anymore, right? So the brokerage or the team had that information or is not releasing it to them. So keeping your own personal information, making sure you have the proper information. The biggest thing is, I have on here is like your last contact and then your notes, right? Because if you're trying to do some, sort of schedule or a sync with someone, having this is just important to be able to know when you communicated with them last and when you need to communicate with them again. Again, having a more formal system. I use our brokerage, we use Chime. Chime is great. It's a little bit arduous, I'd say, setting it up, but once you get used to it, it's good. It depends on what your purpose is, right? If you are trying, I'll show you in a minute, but if you're trying to just communicate with people versus doing something where they're searching for homes at the same time, your choice is going to be different things, right? But this is kind of a little bit of a calendar for client tracking, through the year. You have your person. Did you mail them? Did you call them? Did you email them? What did you do? How did you communicate with them, right? And again, if you have a CRM versus a spreadsheet, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get into, but just showing you this. But the whole point of this, guys, is to use these different tools and to use these calendars and these systems to make sure you're reaching out to a human, right? Because relationships are real estate. Business in general is relationships, right? So this is a relationship field. We have to do something that connects and people are going to hear you. If they don't hear the message, it's because you didn't tell them something that they wanted to talk about, right? Or that they didn't know that they wanted to talk about. So you need to keep it personal to your client. Like maybe if you're doing a general farm, you can still do things personal to them. Like, hey, here's a new list of the 3 restaurants that just opened in your neighborhood, like a mile away. I mean, how cool is that? I would love if somebody told me that, and, because your database is 100% your gold mine. I like to tell people to think of your clients as a dartboard. Your clients are in that center, bullseye, right? And the next layer out are their friends, and the next layer out is their friends. And your goal is to constantly be getting people into that inner circle. And the more you're able to get referrals, from your clients, from your database, the more money you're going to make. And it doesn't cost you the same money as if you're doing a pay-per-click ad or buying Zillow leads, right? Getting referrals is such a less expensive way to get money. And it's such a more likelihood of you getting that converted to actual dollars. So the next kind of thing that I'd like you to think about is to think about, like, if you were to take that 36-point system, what would that look like? Maybe you look at from an annual perspective first, right? So maybe you'd say like, hey, in December, maybe I do, like I used to always do a Thanksmas party, which was in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it was great because so many people are traveling around Thanksgiving and so many people are traveling around Christmas. Right in the middle was a great time to share and have a party with people and have fun. And a lot of people showed up and it was less stress than the regular holiday events, right? But when you do that, you're inviting people, you're creating this event, you're creating camaraderie and fun. And again, that can get you like 11 points of the year if you do it right. You do your invitation, you do your event, and you do your thank you. And that could be somewhere around here. So if you were just to look at it annually, like, okay, I might do an event here, November, and Don't decide, if you want a good showing, it's not a good idea to just do something like 2 weeks before. You probably need a month or two to kind of get yourself ready and get your people ready to remind them of what's happening. And then every year that you do it after that, more and more people will come. But let's just say you want to do, on an annual basis, every quarter, you're going to do a quarterly report, right? So if you do that, that's 3 points. So if you do that, that's 12 points for a quarterly report. And then you do an event, that's 11 points. You're really far along the way. So it's about mixing and matching what matches your personality and what you're committed to doing, because it's not going to work if you don't do it. But you have to decide what works best for you. And, if anybody wants to reach out to me personally after this, I can share examples. I can share some templates that we've done and we've used that can help you. But it's about putting together a sync calendar. Now, if you can just think about this from an annual perspective and then break it down by your quarterly and your monthly tasks, and really, so it's not so overwhelming. If you can just spend 10 minutes a day on your client connection, like maybe you're writing your article for the week or the month, right? Maybe you're writing your quarterly newsletter, but you've got to set aside time. Our business is such a reactive business. We're like firefighters out there. It's not until the flames are going that we're out there with the water hose. If you can spend just this little bit of time on yourself and your business every day, it will have this huge cumulative effect. And it will create something in your people, in your base, your database, that will, they're going to be wondering, what happened to you if you didn't produce that for them every time. So that's the goal, to create something, to create this habit in yourself and to others, so that they're expecting something that they didn't know that they were expecting. So again, take that down to weekly task and then take that down to a daily task. So again, this is our chime system. So on the front end, actually, this may be an old slide, I'm sorry, but the concept is on like a Chime or a Real Geeks or a Boomtown. You probably heard of those. People can go in and they can, log in and they can start searching for homes, right? And on the back end, what happens when people register, it goes into a database. So I think this is an old one because we don't use Real Geeks anymore. We use Chime, but it's the same concept, right? So you're going to go and you're going to see somebody in here, and then you're going to be able to create these content calendars for yourself and for that person. Now, sometimes these things have, these easy, like drip campaigns, which they're not bad, but they may not really be talking in your voice. So make sure if you're doing a drip campaign or whatever, everything that you do needs to be purposeful and it's worth the time to set it up correctly. And again, I didn't create any or show any templates here, but I'm here to help you. I'm here to make things simple for you. It shouldn't be complicated. This whole thing needs to be very easy for you to do. Otherwise, again, you won't do it. So, here's my information. If you would like to get a hold of me, I'm happy to kind of go over these things with you. And I see that there's some people in the chat, but I didn't answer that. Do you mind helping me, Justin, and asking if anybody has questions here?
For sure, absolutely. You guys, any questions for Kristin? Let me pull up the chat box here. Some people are having issues seeing earlier, so we got that resolved.
Okay, good.
Any questions for Kristin, her process of database, everything she's gone over today? Guys, again, this is Q3. These are amazing points for you to be able to add into your business or start implementing now, some ideas for you to start going. Even the smallest steps can make the biggest waves. So you want to make sure you are starting that time now and scheduling time with yourself to actually execute these items here. How do you like Chime? How's your review on Chime?
So I love Chime, but it took me a minute to get used to it. I feel like it's wonderful, but you have to spend a few times mealing, really thinking about how you want it to work. For example, if you have a drip campaign on someone, there are like start and stop functions, so it'll be like, okay, if this person responds, it's going to stop. So then I have to manually make sure I'm going in and making sure that it applies, I apply them to the next drip campaign or I move them to a different kind of bucket, right?
For sure.
And I was just talking with Hannah from Escrow the other day. Escrow is a very user-friendly, from a real estate perspective, communication system. It's a CRM, but what it lacks in Arizona is the ability for people to have a search function in the MLS, right? So it's a really, really wonderful and easy to use system to communicate with people. So it depends on what you're looking for as an agent. Do you need a system where people are searching, or do you need a communication system, or do you need both, right? That's the things that people need to ask themselves when they're searching for a system. And I've tried a lot of them, and there's some I just absolutely hate, so I'm not afraid to give that opinion. And Chime is wonderful and it's very robust, but it's a bit tech heavy, right? It's written by developers. It's not necessarily written by real estate agents, And so, what about you? What's your experience with different CRMs?
I think Chime has been, I've worked with agents that have used Chime and been in the system. I think it's a good platform. Like you said, it's very robust. It's got a lot of tech to it. It's on the cleaner side, in my opinion, but you guys have to, everyone always asks me when I'm in meetings or something, well, what's the best CRM? And it's like, you've heard it before, the one you're going to use.
Right.
So do you prefer one that's, some agents might prefer clunky over super clean and simple, right? But some agents, you might want, it needs to be super clean, easy, and intuitive. But it's truly, right? I feel like in this industry, we try so many different things. It's always the next shiny object, and we don't fully use the capability of these CRMs, whether it's one that you're going to purchase outside for yourself and your business, or one that maybe your brokerage or team includes, and navigate that. But are you actually going to use it? Not just upload your contact list one time and then you never, it just builds dust and you never see it again. So again, I've said this before, and a lot of industry leaders have said this. I truly think that a database or some type of CRM is our number one asset in this business. I mean, the majority of business is repeat and referral. So we always want to go and spend money on marketing and things like that when we don't even have a solid database in place with, to Kristin's point today, a great communication process or strategy. What does that look like, right? It's almost like you have to be the architect of that and write that out. And luckily we have some tools for drip campaigns like ChatGPT that you can go in and it can help you kind of create more content. And of course you wanna, what I love about Kristin today is making it personable, right? Not just something else that's just being sent and it's kind of meaningless, but the more personalization that you can add to it, of course, will go so much further with whoever you're sending that to, right? It builds that trust and relationship, and it does go a long way. But any questions for Kristin, guys? You've got her contact info.
Yeah. And one thing that I'd like everybody that's on the call today to do is go back and look at the last year or two of your transactions and see where they came from. If you do this little exercise, it's going to kind of encourage you to spend more time around that, right? If you got them from referrals, great. This is exactly what you should be doing, right? If you're getting them through another source, wonderful. But can you leverage that with other referrals that are free? So think about that and think about your dollars and how you're investing your time and your money. As we get further in this industry, sometimes your paycheck becomes your equity instead of your time, but you can't replace you in this whole scenario, guys. You just can't. So please remember that when you're working on your communications.
Yep, it's a people business. We will not be eliminated. All the new technology coming out can help us, but it is a people business. It's a very large transaction. So any other questions for Kristin, guys? Got to schedule time with yourself. This is the time to do it, right? I've said it before. If a client calls you right now and you're out the door, they're ready to list their home, you forget about the kids, someone else is gonna have to deal with them or pick them up, or they're walking home, right? We will drop everything to go meet with a client, but we just don't do the same for our business, right? We have to work on our business, and our database is part of that process. So I definitely encourage everyone to schedule time with themselves to definitely implement this. And of course, you have Kristin's info here. So if you have any questions or strategy, pick her brain. She's full of knowledge. Definitely reach out and she will be happy to help.
I,
Thank you,
I,
everybody.
I had a quick trivia question. I use KCM for infographics for some content on my social media or my newsletters. Do you guys have any other resources for items of content? Maybe your lender, I guess, is another one I use.
So there's a couple different places. So Altos research is fantastic, and ROC Title can help you with that. There's a free version and a paid version, and I think that ROC Title can give you a more robust version through their system, and they're wonderful. It's very quick stats, and it provides information by city or by zip code. Which is wonderful. Also, every month, there's rapid stats that you can pay for a little bit more in Arizona. I'm assuming everybody's Arizona here, right, Justin?
We have Nevada as well.
Nevada, so I don't know Nevada, but the MLS that's local to them probably provides something like InfoSparks or Rapid Stats or MLS Stats. One of those products is probably within their system. Of course, you know, you can access like the Crumford Report in Arizona. There's, you know, free portions of it and there's paid portions of it. But also the Tom Ruff Report also has some nice monthly stats, not in Arizona, that provides, you know, pending, active, the number of, you know, month over month increases, decreases year over year, and there's commentary as well. So, and they have nice little graphics as well.
Definitely, there's a lot of services. We have list reports if you want to pull stuff from that. Breakthrough Broker has some stuff, but even, I mean, think beyond just that, right? Be the local hub of everything Arizona or wherever you are in your market, right? So think of things like what's happening with schools. Is there new school additions? Is there new businesses moving to the area? You know, is there property taxes? Are we talking about property taxes? Why are home warranties great? Partner with your lender, talk about interest rates, talk about different loan programs, talk about just credit in general, like helping, how do you improve your credit, right? Include your partners on that, but just kind of be creative more and think bigger than just necessarily market, right? Stats and stuff like that, for different ways of touching points with, you know, it's hot outside, but when it gets in cooler months, you know, what are the best hiking spots? What are outdoor activities? Right, we're very outdoor during those months, kind of market and state. Same for Nevada. Those that are in Nevada, tons of events going on, things like that. So there's just many different topics and pieces of content. ROC University, we give you guys social media posts every single month. There's a newsletter in there you can go and steal ideas from as well that we upload every single month. You just have to go to rocuniversity.com and then click on that VIP all access, and you can access all of those as well. But content is virtually unlimited. Kristin, somebody asked about video. What's your opinion on video?
Oh, I love it. You know, so I do most of my videos through teaching classes. And then right now, I don't have that open to the public right now, but I think it's great. And one of the little things that people do, like, let's just say you get a lead and it's not from a referral, or maybe it is a referral, but you've never met this person before. You might spend just a minute and have a quick little email, or I'm sorry, video introduction of yourself ready to text to someone or to put in an email to someone so they can see your face. I tell people that do these on PPC leads as well, because so often when people are searching online and they've never met you and they're just kind of beginning their search, they just think of you as a name and maybe a resource, but they don't think of you as a human, right? And especially because there's so many bots and so many different responses that aren't human, it's nice to see a face behind it. So I've had my agents that have been doing the video have such a higher transition of being able to have real conversations with people, whether it's a warm referral, cold referral, total PPC lead, you know, just by showing their face. And it's just it will do numbers for your, do wonders for your business. If you start doing that, I just really recommend it. Some people do it in different ways. Justin probably could speak a lot to more in regards to, you know, YouTubes and reels and all that.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, we know video, I've beaten it into everybody's head
Yeah.
over the last several months, but we know video is there, right? 51% of buyers choose YouTube. That stat alone for their #1 research platform, 51%. That's from NAR. Okay, so if we know that stat, then we understand where the consumer attention is. How do we like to consume content, right? It's more video right now. It's that short form video content. So take these suggestions and turn it into a video and send that out. You may get a better engagement rate with that, right? So someone asked, we get weekly market updates in our office. How often would you suggest we send those market updates to our past clients? Do you think weekly? Do you think monthly? Is weekly a little too aggressive for
Is
market facts?
aggressive, just think about, I don't know, is anybody on a home bot, what I like to see is about every month something come through. And I think HomeBot is great. A lot of lenders use it and provide it to past closings. And I pick on it, I actually click on it, and I get thousands of emails. But when I see the properties that I own and I get the HomeBot, oh, this is what's happening in your area. I look at that every month. And then I think to myself, well, this doesn't quite know what it means, or I agree with it, depending on the scenario. But it's a topic of conversation, and I think once a month is a good amount. Now, if you're feeling like somebody is wanting, the difference may be if you have like an active listing and things are changing in the market, you might be needing to give your seller a report like a little bit more frequently, but that's a case-by-case basis.
Awesome, guys. Any other questions for Kristin? I'm going to ask, is this video going to be recorded or where is it going to be posted? It is going to be on our YouTube channel. Let me put it in here. Okay, I haven't promoted this in, I don't know, one training maybe. But you go there, click there, subscribe. I will, as soon as we get off this call, I'm going to edit and upload it, so it will be up there today within the next couple of hours. But go youtube.com/ROC University and you'll be able to access that there. Otherwise, there's no other questions. We really appreciate you guys. Kristin, we appreciate you so much in your time and sharing your knowledge with us. I think everyone today definitely got some gold out of it. So we really do appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Of course, our pleasure. And of course, guys, make sure you go to rocuniversity.com, register for our other trainings, all the other resources we have on there. And please, please, please consider writing ROC title on your next contract. We would love to work with you. We have several branches across both states, awesome escrow officers that are ready to give you and your clients celebrity treatment. So please consider that, and we will see you guys in the next training. Happy Thursday. I hope everyone has an amazing weekend.
Take care.